Hi everyone, just before we get into this episode of Type 1 on 1, I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much for pressing play. I really hope you enjoy this episode. If you do, don't forget to hit subscribe and you'll be notified when new episodes come about. You can find us across podcast land on Spotify, iTunes, all those good places as well. Secondly, anything you hear on this podcast should not be taken as medical advice. I am of course not a professional and you do need to seek advice from your healthcare team before making any changes to your diabetes management. And lastly, if you want to say hello, I do have an Instagram page specifically for the Type 1 on 1 podcast. You can find it at Studio Type 1 on 1. That's at Studio Type 1, the number, on 1, the number. And you can also come and say hello and follow me on my personal page, which is at Miss Jen Grieves. And all of that will be noted in the episode description. Hi everyone, and welcome to Type 1 on 1, a podcast that delves into the obscure, complex and challenging world of life with type 1 diabetes. I'm Jen Grieves, and each week with the help of some brilliant guests, I'll be showing that there is no normal when it comes to handling this whopper of a chronic condition, because we're all pretty much figuring out the messiness of day-to-day life with diabetes as we go. And most of all, even though it doesn't always feel like it, we are absolutely not alone. My guest today is Tino Dzikiti. Born and raised in Zimbabwe, Tino trained in finance, but has shifted his life's work to become a diabetes advocate, educator, podcast host, and consultant, working to make a difference for teenagers and young adults living with type 1 diabetes in Zimbabwe and across Africa. Tino was diagnosed with type 1 in 2010 at the age of 11. Hello, Tino.
Hey, Jim. Hope you're good.
How are you doing today? Welcome to the Type 1 on 1 podcast.
Thank you for having me on your pod. It's an honor for me to be here because most of the times I'm the one interviewing people. And so sometimes it's also good to shift the focus to get to the interview.
I'm in the presence of a professional, so I'm putting on my professional head today. We've already worked our way through some technical difficulties, but we're making it happen, and I'm honored that you're joining me today because I know you're making such a huge difference to your community, and I'm excited to get into what it is that you've been up to because I know you're a very busy guy as well.
It's an honor for me to be here with you. So yes, I am because you are. So yes, it's perfect that we also get to discuss other things and we get to see the other side of the coin. So yeah, thank you for having me and making your time to be here. I mean, almost everybody is busy, but we made time for the things that needed us, right?
Right. And it's so important, I think, to get these different perspectives and experiences from across the world, because as we know, and as you're all too aware, like diabetes care is not the same for everyone. And I mentioned a bit about the work you're doing. So on a day-to-day level, what do you do in your day-to-day work? Because I know you work with lots of different organizations and associations. So tell me a little bit about how you fill your time doing this work.
For me, my life has become my career. So I have to become in finance, went to uni, but I never saw myself working in the corporate world. I see maybe I wanted to devote myself in the things that matter to me, things that I love doing, things that I'm a bit passionate about. So I'm finding myself juggling on a number of things, doing a lot of things with a number of organizations. So my time in a week, I try to divide to say on this very specific day, maybe a month, I'm going to devote it to this organization, and the next I'm going to do this. But also on my occasional time, on my spare time, I get to be editing a podcast. Or if I find myself without anything to do so much, I just think of a topic or the things, the conversation that they're having with my community, and then I try to write about it and publish it on my own website. Like I have a blog. So it's something that I just love doing, but things will just keep on coming on. So I never get to see like this free time really. So most of the time we find organizations reaching out. Just of course you're committed to so many things, but the time they just keep on coming, hey Tino, can we do this together? And I say, wow, it's an honor. I thought you never asked. So things are just happening naturally and then they're just flowing and I'm liking it and I'm loving everything about
Wow. Very inspiring. And what's your biggest motivation at the moment? Like, what's at the top of your agenda with the things that you're doing and the conversations you're having with people?
Great question. And also a difficult question. My motivation, yes. There are so many unmet needs here in the poorest countries or in the poorest communities, low to middle income countries where I'm from, Zimbabwe. And we know baby the community, we have friends from all over the world. We get to discuss things, the healthcare, the gaps that exist in our healthcare system. So the things, and we find that like most of the things that are happening or the things that we find in the West or in the first world countries, it seems like for us in the low middle income countries, we are like 20 or 40 years behind in terms of diabetes tech, everything about it. So what I found is to say, yes, of course, we always need to improve things. There's so many things that need to be improved that we might not get to. But yeah, so my thought is with all the knowledge and everything that I've gotten to know so far, I just want to be involved in part in my own community because I think because I have very few resources. So with those very few resources, what I think I can do is just try to empower PhD people living with diabetes. I think that was maybe one of the major reasons why I said I would want to become a diabetes educator and also reach out to the hospital where I was diagnosed. And when I reached out, they knew me. They were like, wow, it will be great because we have known you for 10 years now. And so it'll be so good to just work with you and do whatever you want. So I'm volunteering at this local hospital. And now I go there like twice a week, not twice a week, twice a month. So we get to see people. I get to be consulting medical professionals. It's an humbling opportunity really to be working with these people and for them to be listening to you. So yeah, I think things are just happening the way I like it and the way I feel. And maybe in the near future, what I'm hoping to do is finally establish a pharmacy so that people in my country can also get to access to the medicine that they need at a very safe price. At least if they're getting it at a costed price, that would do good for me. That would satisfy me in helping people. And yes, of course, over the past few years, because I got involved in advocacy in 2020. So over those maybe 3, 4 years, my friend has been sending glucometers or other data supplies so that I can also give to my own community. If I find that you do not have a glucometer to meet the stakeholder way, I don't ask you for anything because I'm getting these things for free. And so this is what I am doing, and I'm hoping to continue doing this. But I want to do it in a more sustainable way because also I have a beginning business. So yeah, I want to help people. Thank you.
Yeah. And can you paint me a little bit of a picture about the healthcare, diabetes healthcare specifically? You mentioned it was 40, 50 years behind kind of more developed countries. So what's the kind of regime for someone who is living with type 1 diabetes in Zimbabwe? What does that look like?
Great question. So in Zimbabwe, I believe there's resilience in the system, but I also think that there's also a huge gap in resources and consistent training for healthcare work. Because most of the knowledge, and sorry to say this to our healthcare professionals, that I know they try so hard, they're overworked and they're underpaid, but also they don't get the opportunities to be attend the conferences like I do yearly. I attend at least 1 or 2 conferences. So the thing to get to see like where you're being wrong, where you could improve, to see how others are doing research. We do not have that. So in my country, people are just used to just handle everything with the basics because we do not have, even if we have access to it now, yes, of course, I think of in the past 2 months, that's where CGMs are introduced in Zimbabwe, but they're a bit expensive. If people are struggling to get access or to get hold of medication that is paying maybe for $5 for people that are actually using MPH insulin, for example, or the human insulin. Some people, some families are still struggling to get hold of this insulin that goes for $5. So imagine if you need something like a CGM that you'd need to pay for about $60, for example. We're talking about $US, or maybe the same if it's euros, it's the same. That'll be just too much for people. So people are just trying to do things with the basics, and they feel like if even if that's for a common glucometer, if people are together, for some people they see it as like a lottery. But if they have medication, that's what matters to them, which is not the thing that should be, but this is how things are. So, and I think I've worked on advocacy and awareness programs aimed at filling these gaps. And while in progress, it's slow, but there is hope. So yes, of course, we have these unique challenges here into supply chain relief, yes, and a need for more kids education to tackle some of the misconceptions that we still have for some families. If there's a diagnosis in a family, parents, if they hear that maybe there's a cure or maybe they're ahead, for example, they just dive into it. They just want to get off their shoulders because diabetes is a bit of a struggle. It's a complex disease, and so people they just want to get it off their shoulders if they could, but they can't. So we've lost them in life because people don't really have access to these. They don't really know so much. So I think that's where I'm trying to get into so that we could change things. And now I'm also trying to mentor other people so that I'm not the only one doing it. We could be so many because I cannot address every other challenge as a person living with diabetes. And yes, we appreciate the help that we get from others, but they just not empowered as much as you would want them, right? To measure up to what other people are doing and those are professionals in the first thing.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I just think it's important to give context for audience members who live in other countries because it varies so greatly across the world from the people I've spoken to. So thank you for painting that picture. You mentioned there the word empowered. I'm wondering, and I will take it back to your diagnosis so we can really start from the beginning, but I'm wondering what your relationship is to that word empowered. How does that word make you feel in relation to diabetes?
Oh, thank you. I think to me, advocacy is personal. I'm passionate about bringing like the access gap and creating lasting change for people living with diabetes. For me, I didn't have 10 years after my diagnosis, there was nothing. I never wanted to talk about diabetes. I never imagined myself working in diabetes. I just wanted, if it was time for me to go to see my doctor for review, for example, I just wanted to do good maybe a week before that. Then after that, I would just get back to how things were, trying to impress my doctor. But I wasn't doing things correctly. I wasn't doing things fast. So like now when you get to expose into this peer support, like I remember in 2019 when I was invited to represent Zimbabwe with the other young leaders in diabetes from across Africa, from the English speaking country. That's where I realized I was like 10 steps behind. I didn't want to do competition, no. It is not in that context. But I felt like I could also do it at the same time because there were young people my age. Because all the people I knew back then were just old adults who were type 2 diabetes who would come to help, but sometimes maybe their help could not even answer that because I had hypos. I always struggled with hypos in the morning, but my parents didn't know what was happening to me. So when I got exposed into advocacy work with people, when I saw other people my age, they knew so much about diabetes. You could talk about hypos. They would speak, they could explain it, they could talk to other people to say, wow, we could do one, two, three things. That's when I realized I could also use my voice, try to empower myself. I said I wanted to do research. Then I got involved in the global diabetes community. I said I wanted to reach out to the international. I want to see how they're doing so that I could also, if I learn something, I want to get back to also teach my own people in my community. I think that was maybe one of the major reasons why I started my own podcast to say, yes, now I'm involved, now I'm a member of these big organizations. So I want to learn maybe their key findings and also try to translate it in the language that could be understood by people in my own community. And hence the blog itself, where I started writing my own story so that I could maybe try to change things. And now even the recognition is gone, especially internationally. That's where I got recognized the most. And now in the country, now I'm sort of like a significant figure and they want to work with me. So which is something amazing. And so yes, empowering people would be good. Because I remember one time the doctors were asking, hey, in most cases, when we say we want to start any conversation with a person with lived experience, it's different. It's not just a random person that we just speak on the street to say, can you come and speak about this? We need empowered people, people that really know what they want, what other people need, not just what they want personally. Yes, because of course, most of us might be coming from a very fortunate position because of our backgrounds. We could have everything we need, but also you try to change the narrative because you believe you're also involved in a community, you see where they are lacking, and you want to try and improve that so that things could be at par. No one has to not have access because of their family backgrounds. So, but that is the thing. That is the reality now. To say where you come from determine the things that you have access to, which should not be. I think that is maybe one of those narratives that we're trying to challenge in a way, and how that I think the critical thing is right and trying
Incredible.
to empower other people to do the same. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing to hear you speak so passionately about this. And as you mentioned your podcast there, Global Diabetes Insights, you are speaking to healthcare professionals at the very forefront of changes in technology and like right at the top of their game. Absorbing that information for you, how has that shaped your work? And as you mentioned, like taking it back into your community, what's the kind of biggest takeaway that you've absorbed from speaking to these people who are so experienced, so knowledgeable, and really at the forefront of shaping these these challenges and making a difference?
Well, I think I'm trying to be the bridge because I believe not everyone could have access to the things that I have access to. I want to be the bridge where I could send in to try to connect people. And I know I have also helped business that I know because they're big people. So when you reach out to them, you have to be very humble to appreciate the work that they do. So I do sort of like background research before I go to speak to approach them. And then other people be like, how did you get to speak with that person? Because they're really the big people, the leaders in diabetes, the most renowned that I'm getting access to. So like I'm trying to bring the gap to say yes, of course. I've listened to some of their interviews. I know so much about their research, but not everything. And these are very busy people. So you try to, when you reach out to them, I also want even other maybe to people living with diabetes so that they can get empowered to say, wow, things we are trying to understand the things, maybe the jargon that people might not really understand what this research means to us, because I'm also speaking from people living with diabetes and say, what does your research mean to us for people living with diabetes? For researchers, I want them to be empowered. I want them to be encouraged to say they have to keep on, to be reminded to keep on doing research. And maybe the healthcare professionals, maybe the juniors, I want them to be motivated to see like how these things started for these people that are working in this. Like, of course, you could be a clinical doctor, but also you need to be involved in research to say the things that you're not understanding in the clinic. You could go back to research, try to understand it, and then you go back and also consult other people. You may not know everything. You cannot say if the patient comes to your clinic or to your rooms, yes, to doctors, you need to know that. Yes, if Tino comes to your room and asks a question, don't just try to rub me just to say you've responded. If you don't know, you don't know, because since the narrative way, doctors don't have to be sort of like giving people information to say, you have to do one thing. They need to have a dialogue. They need to have a dialogue to ask, okay, team, what do you think works for you if we do this on the kind of treatment that they're giving to themselves, so that the doctors are waiting as gatekeepers to remind them to say, okay, fine, this should have this kind of an impact, that kind of thing. So yes, I think we are doing well in that. And people with diabetes, because the people that come to our this usually are for people living with diabetes. These are people that are doing so well, people that have lived with their conditions for a long time. And maybe they're involved in a number of things that I think maybe could also help to encourage other people. And for healthcare professionals, these are the people that have been in the field for a long time that could serve as motivation to those that are doing it. And to the researcher, also it's a motivation to those that are still doing research to say, hey, keep going. We can always come out together to create these things that we need. That we may not know everything, but you need to know what others are doing so that we can also complement the way that we don't have to do competition because we're trying to fight one common enemy. Diabetes to us is like anti-organic. So maybe that's what I could say for now.
And it's incredible, I think, the power of sharing knowledge, the outcomes you can achieve from that. So yeah, it's really great that you touched on that. Your blog is called The Diabetic Mogul. Can you tell me what the diabetic mogul means?
I think it's just a word that can naturally so we to say, what is a mogul? A mogul is someone with very influential in any space. I think that's the username that I use online. Instagram, the Diabetic Mogul part because I was an individual. I was doing it solo. And so when I got to say, yes, I think I needed someone to help me with this, then I thought it would be good. Which is saying, okay, fine, I want to give you this information that they can hear. It's something that has been shared. Like if I go to a conference, I write reports about everything. If I attend a camp, I try to inform people what the camp was all about, that kind of thing. And if I have a conversation and I thought maybe it was amazing, I try to write about it so that other people can also see like where things are. And I also give other people a platform to just say their stories if they don't have a blog. Because mine, I think, even if I don't share the link, daily you see the trend that are people are the states that people are still visiting. So that's how it's working. So for me, I thought, okay, fine. I just want to be someone. Yep. That's
Yeah.
what it means.
I love it. I love it. And you're doing exactly that, which is incredible. So this is a good point then to take it back to your diagnosis, because you did sort of hint to the fact that you weren't always feeling super confident about talking about your diabetes or empowered. So tell us a little bit about life for you at the point of diagnosis, what it looked like before you were diagnosed. What were you up to? What were you occupying yourself with before this thing came along?
Well, since I got diagnosed as a teenager, so before my diagnosis, I was really focused on just getting good grades. I thought maybe I was going to be a doctor or an engineer, for example. That's what I was focused on. I think that was a very premise that I had. And life felt simple. I wasn't thinking about health in the same intent as I do now. So they were like carefree rhythm of life. And I would never imagine it would change so suddenly, like it did. Everything seemed perfect. But I think I only have a brief memory about that because everything was shit after my diagnosis. Because back then I was just still in primary school. So I think almost everything changes, like what people say we are aspiring to do. To say, I want to do this, I want to do that. But once you get to high school, things take a shift on the things that you're interested in and where your strengths are. So I think that was just life before my diagnosis because I think I wouldn't say I was diagnosed at a tender age, but it was maybe almost there because I've lived longer with diabetes than I lived without diabetes now. So I've reached that gap now. So yeah, I think the most thing that I remember now is after my diagnosis because there was a bit of the 10 pounds, some weird things happening because I didn't understand what I was trying to fix. I thought maybe diagnosis was like a headache. I was just going to get it maybe for a few days and then it goes back or it goes away. I never thought about the chronic illness. I didn't understand in that context. Say, what does this mean to me? And what will it mean to me? Maybe in the next week, next 5 years. I didn't know I needed to do research. I didn't know I needed to read so much because I think my mother was the hero then. The hero to do anything and everything, making sure that I'm up. If the doctor was saying Tino needs to do one, two, three things, my ears would just be closed. It gets over here and then it gets out. So it was something else. But I think she deserves all the credit. But now, when she sees or when she meets other people with diabetes that maybe she feels they're struggling with this, she'll be like, okay, can I give you a reference number? You could help you. And then when you need to be like, hey, Tina, I gave your number to some people that I met when I was going somewhere. We're like, come on, why'd you do that? But I mean, I don't complain because I want to help because no one else did for me then. Or like I want to be there for other people because I didn't have.
Oh, she must be so proud of you. So tell me a little bit about what happened in terms of your diagnosis and the symptoms you experienced and how that kind of progressed.
So I think I started experiencing this intense thirst, the fatigue, and unexplained weight loss. If my parents could tell what was happening, then maybe my diagnosis could have been much sudden or it could have been quicker than it did because I was diagnosed with DKA. So all the classic type 1 diabetes signals were there, but and then most of the time that fatigue after school, I'd just go straight to bed, sleep, and always thought it was a struggle really, but I didn't recognize the time. So when I finally saw it, it was a whirlwind. I was shocked, but also deeply uncertain about what life would be like it is right now. And I know like family reaction. when we meet, a blend of concern, certainty about how we would manage this new reality. But it maybe at the time it was just a matter of just getting medication, and then that what my parents would focus on to say, does he have enough medication? And not about glucometer strips, because I'd really take my blood sugar levels. And what we were just focused on was just taking the medication in the right time. And we were not even concerned about kept counting. Maybe that's not a thing then. We didn't know anything about it. I'll just eat and take my medication. But we survived, and cried. So yeah, that was just about it.
And what was it that prompted you to start talking about this more openly? Because, there's such a shift from where you were to where you are now and the difference you're making. What did you see around you that kind of motivated you to shift your career and really take hold of this?
Great question. So what happened? I think precisely 10 years, 10 years after my diagnosis, I remember going to the Zimbabwe Diabetes Association where there was this a station. Usually they would have weekly session teaching people about diabetes, so many their conditions were well. So what happened? I was just there as an attendee. Maybe that was my first time there. And then I remember a dentist coming to say, I'm doing a free screening for everybody. And then when she screened me, we just say, okay, fine. Would you want to book a session with me so that I can clean your teeth? I said, okay, that's fine. Then I went back the following week. We had a conversation, mutual conversation. It was so good, natural, and all that. I don't make an effort to anything, but it was just amazing. I thought, welcome. And she was so like, then I remember she said, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to give you my personal number so that we keep in touch. And like our conversation with her. 3 months after that, he sent me a message to say, at the Zimbabwe Diabetes Association, they're looking for a guy that they could send to Ethiopia. There's going to be a training on that. And I thought maybe you'd be the perfect guy because I remember they said that we had sent a message in the group, but nobody seems to match that criteria. Like nobody had a passport or nobody was there or my age. So they wanted two people to do that. Then I remember going there. So when I got, that was the exposure that I got. It was an open door to the window of my opportunity. That's when I realized maybe I wanted to do advocacy work. After that, 4 days intently connecting with people, living my ideas. It was just amazing. So after that, then I said, okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is to write a summary. That was the first thing I wrote, which was not an essay, a class essay. I said, I'm going to write a report about what we learned. After that, 3 weeks after, then I thought, okay, I'm going to write my own story, which took me about a month because, yeah, I was trying to get everything from the things that I could remember. So that's how everything happened. And then we got started to get into these links to say, okay, I wanted to do this. I said, I want to get to the bottom of this. I want to understand what is happening. How are people doing? I wanted to continue connecting with people. That's when I said, okay, fine, I needed an effort. So that's when things started happening. And me becoming a diabetes educator, I remember I wanted, when I was going to be working in the hospital or maybe volunteering in the hospital, they needed someone with a bit of a certificate to say, yes, of course, you could be just a person living with the condition, but can we really take you serious? Then I said, okay, if there's an opportunity for me, I'm gonna want to do this course so that they would recognize me, not just as the person living with the condition, but also as an educator. Then I remember even that institution that took me in, they said we only train healthcare professionals. Then I explained why I needed this, why this was important to me. And and then I started to say, okay, fine, these are the things that I'm involved in, these are the things that I've done in a year or two. And they said, wow, it's impressive. We don't normally do this, but I think we're gonna take you in and then see how things go. And it went so perfect. It was amazing. But of course, I was humbled because I was learning in the council. There were doctors, nurses, etc. But it was worth it. And so look at us now. Things change, things have happened, and things will still happen. And
Yeah.
okay, I could use my voice and yeah, my platform, open platforms to others, create a platform for other people and also try to, okay, in a way.
It's incredible. You are exactly that bridge. You know, I think it takes someone to to raise their voice, like you say, and you're seeing every day kind of how powerful that can be in terms of being this connector. What's an experience you've had from speaking to someone in your community that's really stuck with you in terms of something you've been able to facilitate in their life that's improved their quality of life, or maybe an experience that isn't quite so positive, that's really kind of sat in your heart and is something that I'm sure impacts you and drives you forward?
One. So I think connecting with others who get it has been powerful for me. So there's a sense of community that can be made. So, like I think internationally, connecting with people like people living with diabetes have enriched my perspective and how it's helped me to advocate more effectively. And the time you don't get feedback from people because I'm a person who is working with a number of people. So sometimes things that don't really stuck in me, but sometimes, yes, of course, it gets emotional when people say, give positive feedback, because I think I'm from a community of people I just am grateful. Sorry to say that to people that will hear this, but in most cases, this is something that, and also I've been reminded. So I'm not trying to look for a thank you. So if I give you a glucometer, for example, if I give you if I give you insulin, people say thanks. That's it for me. I'm not gonna post it. I could have a picture of you. I would maybe want to send it to the person who sent those things, but you'd never see that picture on my social media platform. I'm not looking for recognition from people. I'm not looking for credit, and I don't want you to. Maybe people might not feel secure doing it anyway. So that was just a nutshell for me. And almost everything. Yes, of course, I do get feedback from people, but then I think maybe the people that give you feedback are the people that are closest to you, people that have opened up to you, then they'll say good things. So sometimes I don't kind of enjoy getting the praises from people because I feel like this could be even say bad things. And the time decisions that might impact just 10 people to come to an event. And then people hear that, look for 10 people. And then maybe others will not get the opportunity. They'll be like, they'll come, they'll be attacking. They say, why do you do that? So those things, sometimes I would feel like giving up, but then, and sometimes just trying to remove those people from a platform. But I said, no, I think that would be irrational. I wouldn't want to do that. But also sometimes people are defensive, people try to attack you because you are doing something right. And if you don't receive criticism, then I think you're not doing the right thing. So I think it's healthy, it's good to get all those things because, I mean, we cannot make everyone happy, but I'm just trying to my best with the little I have. But other people might not really understand the intention behind it to say, why is he doing this? He's only doing it maybe to get recognition. He's only getting all the opportunities. And I mean, I could not even go to explain to everyone to say, hey, these opportunities, they come because they see the things that I'm doing. And I'm not saying that I'm the maybe the wisest person, I'm not the best candidate. But if they just say, yeah, we're looking for you, they're not like saying, who can you connect us with? And I believe in almost every opportunity or almost every chance, where they reach out to me to say, who could you connect us with? I've always been generous. I've always said context. But in the case where they just come to say, we are looking for someone like you, would you be able to take up this role? And you'll be like, okay, fine. Yes, of course, I've overcommitted, but one thing I believe is it's amazing to see things happening in your community, positive changes being made. And also, it's another for you to be the one involved in making those changes happen. It empowers you, it satisfies you. So I think that's what going, regardless of all the things. So I think maybe if I could say the most daring thing that I've heard, I think maybe we're just like this criticism that I've gotten more. And for people that appreciate it, it's just a thank you, which is good, which is enough for me. But what really stuck in my memory is maybe when people are trying to complain or saying that's happening, then I get to question myself, what am I doing? Ways with this goal. I mean, people could hurt you. They could do anything because yeah, people could be evil, and you never know what they think. So yeah, I mean, but I'm reminded to just keep going because of these things and the people that I'm connected with. So sometimes I just want to be with the people that understand me, people who get it. So the common sense among those people living with diabetes include resilience and the shared mission to educate, to support one another, and it's a community that is built on strength and empathy. And I believe that peer support has been a game changer for me, which I'm so grateful. because I don't get it everything. I don't get it every day. I also reach out to them to say, hey guys, how do you do this? Since now I'm using CGM and the pump, Ivory Coast Loop. So there's so many things that I don't understand. I'm very fortunate to be using it. And I wish I could give shout out to the people that gave me this opportunity, but they don't want that. They don't want to be on the spotlight. But I'm so grateful to be doing this. So like I'm feeling like I'm starting to learn again about how to live with diabetes because it's a new system. So yeah, that's how things been like.
This episode of Type 1 is sponsored by Dexcom. I've been using the Dexcom continuous glucose monitor for years, and it's hard for me to express just how much of a difference it's made to my life as someone living with type 1 diabetes. Their CGM sensors give me the confidence to make informed treatment decisions in the moment, which is great for me as I'm often running around, and with just a quick glance I can see exactly where my glucose level is, where it's been, and where it's headed. So please take a look at Dexcom.com. They have a choice of systems so you can find the right one for your lifestyle. What's that been like? Because I know you were on syringes for a long time, which to administer is quite tricky. And then you've got kind of more vague dosing to go from something like that to a hybrid closed loop. What has that experience been like for you?
Well, it's a learning. I'm starting now to question every step, trying to understand the objectives that I need to balance. You need to be sure the insulin sensitivity and everything. And everything now feels weird to say the way I was doing things. I believe I think I've been on a CGM a couple of months, but for the hybrid closed loop now, everything seems to be integrating. And I'm looking weird. And even when people see me with this, because I always have to have like a small bag with my phone, with my Riley link, so that I don't lose the connection. And at times, alarm would start ringing from nowhere. And sometimes I just don't ignore it. But now because I think this thing, it sort of like motivates you to do things right. You don't want to eat and then just ignore. Because I remember I was a person who just do anything and deal with the consequences later. But now, when I see some others going up and already my blood sugar is 10 or 180, I want to do good. I'll be like, no, 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 I'm going to correct. And then sometimes I end up over correcting. So I think I'm still um, on that age, trying to understand, and now I'm on objective three, trying to understand, answering questions, responding to questions, setting up things that works for me. And I think maybe the basel rate that I'm on right now isn't really good. So I'm gonna try and fight traits and try to change it. And the unfortunate part is that even the doctors we have here, they don't have an understanding of these things. And I don't even know where the conversation will be like. And but I think this is one of the things that I've been trying to advocate now. And I'm glad that we have access to the pump in Zimbabwe, but I think I might be the only one on a hybrid plot in Zimbabwe
Wow.
because it gets way too difficult. Even for people who've been using it for years, they say that too. It's difficult. We don't always understand it. So we need to be, yes, of course, you could do it yourself, but you don't have to do it alone. Yes. So you just need to be connected to the people that understand so that you could run these trial and errors together. They could at least guide you when there are updates, things you don't understand. So yeah, I think the struggle now is only left trying to inform the doctors. But I think my doctors or the doctors we have in the country, they'll be just impressed when they still exclude HbA1c over 3 months. If they see that it's perfect, they'll be impressed. Nothing. But they don't want to see like what is the trend like. If I'm to show them the trend, because after every 5 minutes I'm getting a blood sugar reading. So for them to be able to scroll down after 3 months, yeah, that's something else. But
Yeah,
we'll get,
wow.
I believe. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, it's step by step, right? But you make a really good point about going from kind of like how quickly the technology has advanced, and you now are almost dealing with an overload of information, right? And possibility and the capacity to tweak and make these tiny changes. But you're so right, the tools you need that information around the tools and what happens when things don't go to plan. And, this is advanced technology. So I think you make a really good point there about the systems and the education have to be in place alongside the tools, and the people working with the tools have to be in a certain place. And I think it's about choice, isn't it? Which is what you're kind of advocating for here, to have more options available for people as and when they might want to kind of engage in that way. But it's incredible to hear kind of all different sides of this. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank
What you've spoken a bit about your own understanding of the symptoms when you were first diagnosed, and that taking a bit of a long time, and then the general perception of diabetes. You have to learn to understand your own condition, but what about the perception of what diabetes is for people who don't live with the condition? Is that shifting as more information is getting out there? Like, what does that look like?
I remember, I think about 3 or 5 episodes, waking up with sugar all over my mouth because we didn't have glucose at the time, or it was not a thing. I didn't know if I needed to have glucose with me. I didn't know if I needed to have hypoglycemia treatment with me at the time. So things would just happen. I had food. I was in an assembly. I remember one time I hesitated to go out to eat because there was still an address. It was still between they were still talking orientation. So at that time, I remember I collapsed. And of course, I would tell my friends things like this happen. I didn't have enough information so as to guide them to help me when I needed help. So they just knew that I had diabetes, nothing more. So people just thought, yes, this is diabetes. And they don't seem to have any interest in that, but they just want to know how they could help you. They understood. I don't know how, but it was amazing. So for me, I think like, yes, of course, information is getting out there. So, but I know people are really interested in this entertainment kind of things like TikTok, for example, but to do with more of the information, because I also try to check if people do listen to the things that we are posting. You see a little bit of engagement, and because even I have this tech, like we can see like the analytics. Where are the people that are watching this? Where are they really from? Are they people from my community? No. Or maybe just a certain percentage of 5, but people are not as interested as I would want them to, so that they can get to learn, these things happening. Because when you're taking up, trying to raise awareness, we are not just talking up to people living with diabetes, we're also trying to target people who do not live with diabetes. So I think that will be one of our primary focus in November, for not just for diabetes sake, but for the entire month. I know that I'll be heavily engaged as with many others living with diabetes all over the world. We'll be trying to share so much information so that people can know what's happening when they see these things. So I think almost every day we have something that will be sharing to say, this is how it goes, this is what should be happening. If you see people doing this, then you could try to think of this. But I think in almost every family, there is at least 1 or 2 people listening to it. Because in a family, like maybe people 3 to 5 generations, and maybe you still have those people. So I know like in almost every family, because according to the statistics, according to the International Diabetes Federation statistics, they say that 70% of people in Africa are living with diabetes, and so many of them do not know that. So, which is very sad. So yeah, I think that's just about it. Um, I don't know if I don't really see the shift change, because maybe my primary focus for me is trying to empower people that are really living with the condition. With that, maybe it's a minor focus on people who do not live with it. Because for them, it's just knowing when they have diabetes. How do you know you have diabetes? But when you're speaking of people living with diabetes already, we try to go deep so that they understand all these things.
And in your advocacy work, we've got these basic needs for medication and tools for testing, but then there's a quality of life piece and this empowerment piece that you mentioned. How do you balance that in terms of sharing the information that you have? And I've read your blog. It's so detailed. You're really good at breaking down these quite technical and scientific and complicated things. But where do you strike the balance for yourself between the technical knowledge that you need and your own well-being, especially as you're working in this field and you're pushing for change? How do you personally strike the balance?
Oh, thank you. I think that's a great question. And I've received that compliment for so many people say, wow, when we go to these conferences, when you see graphs, most of the knowledge that you see on these things, you cannot quite absorb it as raw. You need to try and simplify it because I think maybe that is maybe one of the questions that I usually ask in the organization to say, yes, of course, you show us all these things and you try to tabulate the way you understand it. But what does really say mean to me? Because people, if you're just going to talk to them about the things you learned, maybe in an understanding, they could be talking to see you, but maybe, yes, you might know what they're talking about, but you don't understand it, how you apply it in online. So I think it's been like, I think it's a gift that you get to have, like to be able to break this down because I know it's complex. So for me, it's been an honor, like to be doing this really to work with so many organizations to say, okay, fine, you know, this is what you need to do. At least you need to provide like a summary so that people know, even because I know like when we are talking about the people living with diabetes, what does this mean to researchers? And also trying to bring up a call to action. What does this mean to other professionals who are probably not attending this conference? And what does it mean to families, to the general public, about everything that I've learned? Because these conferences are focusing on things at a high, like just a deep dive on the things that we already know, things that we might probably not understand, but focused on people that are living with diabetes already. When they're doing these things, they're already trying to take people, to recruit people living with diabetes, right, so that they understand to say, are there any differences if you have to talk to about this to the whites or maybe to the Caucasians, to the blacks? Are there any differences in terms of how these things would go to people? So like whenever I attend conferences, and you know, like these are very busy conferences, extraordinary conferences. So everything at times, not at times, oh, there are like 5 or 6 sessions happening all at once. So you choose because of course you know Triton is occupied. What are they going to be talking about? So then you choose like how could this relate to my own community? Do we need this? If it's all about technology, sometimes I said, okay, fine. If there's nothing else, maybe I could go for this. But I mean, we do not have this now. So I wanted to understand on what we have, things that would be applicable in my own community, and not just to me. Yes, of course, I use the tech, but also what can we do? How can I try to break it down so that people understand it? Because it's one thing for you to get the information, but it's another for you to get to understand it and to use it in your own life, and not just to use it or to apply it, also to go and ask you further questions from your doctor and also try to say, okay, fine, can we reason together? Where are we getting it wrong? Is there anything? Has there been any improvement since maybe 20 years ago? What has happened? What has shifted? What are the recommendations? What are the standards? Because I know, like, for the diabetes information like this, because of so many things that is happening, what is true last year could not be true today. What were the facts yesterday are probably myths today. So we need to keep up with that. But I know in low to middle income countries where doctors or healthcare professionals are not really exposed to these conferences, some of the knowledge that they're still using is maybe knowledge that they got when they got trained to be medical professionals. So there hasn't been any update, there hasn't been any change, anything really. So I try to be that gate. If they want to listen to me, then that'll be good for them because they will not have access to the things I had access to. So I've had access to 1,000, a million. Some of them I might not even able to explain it to people, but it will be helpful for me as on the personal level. But maybe to help other people living with it because I cannot give medical advice. I sort of like to say this is what works for you. But if you want to do this, please ask people. I would never explain or I would never tell people to listen to what I say on medical terms because everything happens. It's so different. It's so different. The way my insulin works for me could be different in how it works for and not could be. It is different. It always is depending on environment, how you're taking it, the food, the carb counts, the content, everything about it. It's so maybe in a way I would say weird. And I remember some of the doctors saying that yes, I think diabetes is maybe one of the most complex chronic conditions that you've ever had in a lifetime because what worked for you last week could not as well not work for you. It's so different. what worked for me yesterday doesn't work for me the same today. If my blood sugar levels were perfect yesterday, if I do the same things I did yesterday, it would not happen the same. There's so many things. So yeah.
Yeah, that struggle is real. I think it's one of the most dynamic conditions in terms of the way it shifts, and like I guess at points it's feels incredibly illogical as well. So I think the humility that you have to sort of decenter yourself from this information that you are taking in, and these people that you are speaking to, in order to figure out what is the most useful, what is the most pertinent, what is the most relevant to your community. I think that's incredibly admirable. What are you most proudest of with the work that you've done, and changes that you have been able to be a part of to implement in your community thus far?
A way, I've heard somebody say, usually one thing that I don't like to do about, to talk about is when you're applying maybe for a job, you always need to talk about how better you are than somebody else. If maybe they're full of 1,000 people, and why should they take you, for example? You sort of like need to praise yourself. So maybe one moment, maybe one thing that I would say I'm most proud of is that, yes, there are so many things I've been involved in, so many conversations, and of course, working with a number of people, working with a group of people. I didn't want to have access to a CV. I mean, at least I wanted that way, but yes, we'll get there. It's not accessible now. It's not affordable now. But I think this is just one thing that's been amazing. And also the recognition that I've gotten over the years internationally, working with amazing and big organizations. And maybe I'll just give a big shout out to the International Society for Pediatric Adolescent and Diabetes. It's been admirable. It's been a humbling experience for me to be working there as a chairperson in the membership committee. It's just been a humbling opportunity for me because all the people that I'm working, I think I was maybe the first patient advocate to be doing this. I was the first patient advocate welcomed as an official member, and now also to be chairing with all these amazing doctors, professors listening to you. It's just been too much. And at times I feel like, oh my God, am I the one doing this? Should I do that? So like you get to be making decisions at higher level. Sometimes you might not even have to consult your own group. They'll just come to you, okay, fine, you as the kid, what do you think we should do? And then you say, okay, fine, let's do it this way. You always have to think about the bigger context, how this could impact the society. I think we have reached a stage now where you make decisions for the just the society, a big organization, something like that, and they listen to the things like you say, the way you say it, which has been amazing and a humbling experience for me. I keep using the word humble because I'm humbled to be the one doing this because I believe all this could still have happened even without my involvement in it. But to be the one to be involved in it, to see these things happening, to see these things have part of it, it's so great because it's not about the credit, it's not about people who talk about you, maybe years to come, but it's about doing the work that makes you happy. So, and all this is all volunteer work, but I love it. I give it my all. Yeah.
Incredible. And you spoke about the hope that you have overall in the work that you're doing, and the future and the way things are shifting, thankfully. And I guess there's this path that's been set that you can see from interacting with other people in the community globally. How old are you now?
26.
26. Okay. So if you were to look back in 30, 40 years' time, what will be a good job to you? What do you hope has progressed and changed for your community?
Wonderful person. I'd love there to be a situation where people, yes, in Zimbabwe, we know we have some amazing causes, especially for people living with HIV. They've had a great fight. They did amazing job. We always commend them, and we have a lot to learn from them. They came up together in 1990. I wasn't, but I know that research. So they did something remarkable in the country, extraordinary, I could say. And so many countries learn from that. It's still a case study that people could still go back to learn. So people living with HIV, they don't have to pay for medication. people may choose to abscond, not to go and get the medication that they need or that they should take, but they get reminded. So we want to get to a point where even people living with NCDs could also get to a point where they don't have to pay for medication. You just need to go to a clinic and then get everything. Because if we could do it, then we could still do it. This, I think, maybe one of the things that I'm keep on reminding these policymakers. And also, I'm humbled to be part of the non-communicable technical working group in the country where we're working together with UNICEF. We're working together with other civil societies in the country, WHO, Zimbabwe, and the Minister of Health of Zimbabwe, and other civil societies that are working in this NCD space. And these are some of the things that we're trying to change. And I think I'm maybe the only person living with NCD who is part of it. So I think these are some of the conversations that we are now standing to say, I think we need to do this. But I know it's something that could be difficult and something that has been difficult because we don't have the actual statistics, like how many people are living with diabetes. But maybe we could improve it if we have the data to say, these are the people. What do you say? I think we need to make a change. We need to make a decision now. So if their policies, yes, of course, they may not change everything overnight, but if there's one thing that they could do is to make sure that people living with NCDs, like people living with diabetes, could have access to the medication that they need. Because now we have people that are rationing their medication because it's unaffordable for them. Because the average monthly income for Zimbabwe is usually around 100 to 200 US dollars or less. Or should I say 90 to 180 euros or 80 to 170 pounds so that people get the context of where this is coming from. And maybe in a family you have like five children, the mother and so probably they're like seven, and maybe only one person goes to work. That would not cut it. People need to go to school, you need food, probably you don't have a house, you need to pay rent out and other expenses. And now we're talking of medication. It's something. So I think if people can, if that would be a big leap, if people get to get medication for free, the same way people with HIV are getting their medication.
Absolutely. Where can people find you if they want to come and say hello or read your work or listen to you or connect with you in some way?
I think maybe one thing that I would ask is for people to subscribe to our podcast channel so that they know that we're going to be bringing so many people, those type of now, three stages. Yeah, they could just say it's like Global Diabetes Insight or just the Diabetic Mogul page on Instagram. Then I get connect from there and we could collaborate. I'm open to suggestions on how we could do things better. If people want to work with us, the call is always open. You tell us why you want to work with us, and then we could do things. If you want to collaborate with us, I love collaboration. I love in working together. That I'm not the only one with everything figured out. We could do things together. So we need to come up together and so that it could help to change the narrative. Because I mean, even for people living in the UK, they still need to improve on their healthcare system. Advocates are always saying, okay, fine, we need to do this, we need to do that. But for maybe for people in the low million countries, there are huge gaps because they're learning from nations or like practical solutions where these things have worked, and we have a lot to learn. So I believe if we do come up together, we can change this world together as people living with NCDs, healthcare professionals, researchers, and everybody else.
That's an incredibly powerful note to end on. And I think you're just so incredibly inspiring. And the way you are the vessel for sharing this information, I think it really speaks to the power of how we cannot keep information to ourselves. It needs to be shared. And yeah, I just thank you so much for talking to me. I've learned a lot and I think it's incredible the work you're doing. So thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me, Jan. This has been amazing. And also get to be talking about this thing in a way. So yeah, I'm grateful and humbled to be invited. And yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Type 1 Please remember that nothing you hear on this podcast should be taken as medical advice. I'm definitely not a healthcare professional. If you like what you hear, hit subscribe and do leave a little review on iTunes if you have time. It really helps to spread the word about type 1 diabetes. And thank you so much for listening.